And I want to add my thanks to Sarah and Jake and Luna as well. I think that my cat translation skills are a little bit rusty, but I think she was saying, I want to go too. So I'd also like to thank the sign language interpreters as well. Thank you so much for your help in conveying our important science. So now we're going to transition to our lunar exploration plenary. Our first speaker is Dr. Ryan Watkins, and Dr. Watkins is in the Exploration Systems Integration Office in SMD at NASA headquarters. She serves as the Prism lead, as well as other duties, and she is going to give an update on LDEP. So Ryan, please.
All right, thanks, Greg. While I pull that up, like Greg said, I am Ryan Watkins in the Exploration Science Strategy and Integration Office, or SEO. And I'm going to be talking kind of about some of the things going on within SEO, as well as the LDEP program, the Lunar Discovery and Exploration Program that we manage. Great, thanks. All right, so SEO's vision is threefold at the moment. You know, things are constantly evolving. First, we're working to define and lead the science strategy for Artemis and for the Moon to Mars architecture, which you just heard Jake and Sarah talk a lot about. We're also working to integrate exploration science between SMD divisions, as well as between SMD, STMD, this should say ESDMD, other government agencies and international partners. And finally, part of our vision is to promote a lunar economy to produce these rapid, frequent, and affordable access to the lunar surface and cislunar space. And I'll talk kind of a lot about that last one here in a few minutes. So I've already mentioned LDEP. So this is managed by SEO. There's a lot of different things that are happening within LDEP at the moment. So we are developing lunar surface science instruments that address decadal and other community document science priorities. This started with NASA internal payloads. We also have community developed payloads, as well as Prism, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, and the DALI program that's solicited through ROSES. We're also using commercial companies to deliver payloads to the moon through the Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program, or CLPS, which is what I'll spend most of the rest of this talk talking about. We're developing mobility systems to help expand the science that we can do on the surface of the moon, as well as leveraging international partnerships for any additional opportunities, whether it be instruments, rovers, et cetera. And again, we're defining, integrating, and leading Artemis science efforts across SMD and other NASA mission directorates. And the recent decadal survey actually specifically called out infusing decadal level science goals into LDEP and Artemis. So this is as an essential priority for the next decade. So this is something that SEO is continually and actively working towards. All right, so who's who in SEO? We have a really fantastic team of people in SEO. We're led by Dr. Joel Kearns, the Deputy Associate Administrator for Exploration, or the DAX. Survey's own Brad Bailey is our Assistant DAX, or ADAX. And then we have 3 program executives, Jay, Angela, and Zach, as well as 2 full-time program scientists, myself and Dr. Deborah Needham, as well as 2 program scientists that are joint with PSD. We've got Dr. Amanda Nam and Dr. Sarah Noble, who you just heard from. And you'll notice up here, there's actually a vacant position. The call for this opens on Friday, so we would love to have some of you excellent folks come join our team. We also have our wonderful support staff, as well as the CLPS office out of JSC, led by Chris Colbert, all working with our team. All right, so I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about CLPS. I think most of you in here obviously know by now, but if you don't, CLPS is NASA's way of affordably and rapidly acquiring commercial delivery services to the surface of the moon. So this is a competition that's open to U.S. commercial providers of space transportation services. This is structured so that NASA is just one of many customers for these commercial services. And so as of today, we have 14 domestic companies that are eligible to bid to our task orders. And we've awarded 7 lunar surface deliveries, with an 8th to be announced, I believe, this afternoon. So stay tuned for that. And then the earliest delivery will be as soon as the end of this year. All right, so the moon is about to become a very busy place. So this is our ever evolving moon map, showing all of our current and upcoming task orders and where they're going on the surface of the moon, as well as who is actually going to be delivering those services if we've awarded those task orders. And so again, our first ones will be Tulacus Mortis and Mare Crisium. I don't actually know if they have a power laser pointer, but hand wave up there, you can find them. So again, we've got a lot of exciting things happening on the moon in the next few years. Also, here's a polar view. We've got several deliveries going to the South Polar region. So these deliveries will be gathering scientific data about volatiles and other interesting science questions, as well as just helping to pave the way for the Artemis crewed missions. All right, so I'm not going to read through all of this, but not only is CLIPS enabling a lunar economy, but it's also enabling us to address a lot of high priority lunar science questions on the surface of the moon. So we have, I think, we're up to over 50 different payloads now that we are flying to the moon on CLIPS. And so this is just highlighting some of the science that will be done by the early task orders. So some of our earliest ones will be characterizing volatiles, looking at the local radiation environment on the moon, characterizing plume surface interactions during landing, as well as looking at the terrain, the surface mineralogy and composition of the surface. We have some payloads that will be looking at Earth's magnetosphere, as well as the internal structure, composition, and thermal properties of the moon. And the bottom 4 here, you see our Prism Awards. And so instead of reading through them now, I will switch to my Prism slide and talk about Prism. So for those of you who haven't heard of Prism, this is SMD's current way of acquiring science payloads to fly on CLIPS. Prism stands for Payloads and Research Investigations on the Surface of the Moon. And we've awarded, so Prism is solicited approximately annually. And for our first 2, we solicited for 2 predefined landing sites, which meant we were soliciting for 2 separate task orders within each solicitation. So we've awarded Prism 1 and Prism 2, and this amounts to 4 different task orders that we've awarded. So task order CP11 was our first Prism, was first of our Prism 1 awards. This went to Lunar Vertex, led by Dr. Dave Blewett, who's here in the audience. And so this one will land at Reiner Gamma, which is a swirl on the lunar swirl on the near side. So they'll be investigating the magnetic properties and getting at the origin of the lunar swirl. And they are partnered with 2 international payloads for this delivery. We have a retroreflector from ESA, as well as a lunar space environment monitor from the Korean Space Agency. And then the second of the first Prism Awards went to actually 2 different suites. So we actually awarded 3 in this one. Farside Seismic Suite, led by Dr. Mark Panning at JPL, as well as the Lunar Interior Temperature and Materials Suite, led by Dr. Bob Grimm. And these will land at Schrodinger Basin and be our first CLIPS lunar farside delivery. And so those payloads will be characterizing the differentiation and evolution of the moon's interior using a variety of geophysical techniques. And then our most recent Prism Awards, Prism 2, that was announced in June last month, went to Lunar Vise, led by Dr. Carrie Donaldson-Hanna, and you'll hear more about this tomorrow. But this one will land at the Gruithuisen Domes, which is a location of rare silicic volcanism on the lunar near side. So we'll be investigating the composition of the domes and trying to get at the origin of these interesting silicic features. And then finally, our second of the Prism 2 awards went to Leia, the Lunar Explorer Instrument for Space Biology Applications. And so Leia will be studying the biological response of yeast to the lunar environment as a proxy for understanding how partial gravity and deep space radiation influence biological processes. All right, so how do we actually determine what flies on each CLIPS delivery? I'm like really glad you asked. So we select our delivery manifests through NASA's CLIPS Manifest Selection Board, the CMSB. So this has representatives from a variety of directorates or divisions. We have SMD, ESDMD, STMD, OIIR, our International Relations Office, as well as the CLIPS Project Office. And so our selected payloads are chosen from among solicitations to the community. We have various directed work within the directorates, as well as international contributions. And so we select our payloads based on priorities, science priorities and techno priorities, as well as available budget and the timing for when we expect these payloads to be ready to fly. And again, I just mentioned Prism. So this is SMD's primary way of acquiring solicited science payloads. And Prism is open to ESDMD or STMD type investigations if they are shown to also advance or enable the science. All right, so there's a lot going on within CLIPS, very exciting, but where are we going? So we're going to continue building this commercial market. We expect our CLIPS service options to expand as the market and company capabilities evolve. And you can kind of see a list on the side there of some of the capabilities that we expect to evolve within CLIPS that can help enhance science return. We've already offered mobility with Prism 2. So other capabilities we're looking at are comm relays, surviving and upgrading through the lunar night, PSR or cold operations, sample return, et cetera. We are going to continue to competitively select payloads through SMD approximately annually, and continue our cadence of 2 CLIPS deliveries per year. And last but not least, CLIPS is supporting Artemis crewed activities by delivering scientific equipment, supplies for longer duration missions, and then various human-centric architectures such as the Lunar Terrain Vehicle or ISRU demos and equipment. All right, so shifting a little tiny bit, this is still related to CLIPS, but LDEP has our kind of first directed mission from the Planetary Decadal Survey that was just released. So South Pole Aitken Basin sample return has been a lunar science priority in all of the decadal surveys that have come out. And so the most recent one outlined this Endurance A mission concept, which is a long duration rover that is capable of traversing about 2,000 kilometers and returning about 100 kilograms of samples taken at sites within SPA. And so the recent decadal said that Endurance A should utilize CLIPS to be delivered to the moon and then astronauts to return the samples. And so SEO is currently looking into options for implementing this directed mission within our portfolio. All right, and this is my last slide. So upcoming solicitations that will be coming out of LDEP within the next 12 months or so. We have first related to CLIPS instrumentation, we have our Prism 3 solicitation that should be out by the end of the summer. And then we have a couple of calls that Sarah kind of talked about already related to Artemis 3 and 5. Again, we have our Artemis 3 geology team solicitation, and then we'll have a deployed instruments call that will include surface deployed instruments, lander mounted instruments, and or astronaut utilized instruments. So keep your eyes out for that. And then finally, our Lunar Terrain Vehicle mounted instruments solicitation. And for all of these, we will release a community announcement about 3 months prior to the final solicitation and gather any input or questions you may have on those. And with that, I will just say that I'll reiterate what Jake said. It's getting really exciting. The moon is going to be a really busy place here very shortly. So thank you.